Cool. Hello again. Week with Will, back again, slightly later. I will eventually keep to some sort of actual schedule. As of which, we'll have a look into the week. Nothing too extravagant, I'd say, sort of socially. Mostly just work. Work, as Rihanna said. So the main theme of which would be measured building survey. So that's sort of primarily using a 3D scanner, sort of with using sort of checkerboards and sort of the other equipment used on a site for like a normal topographical survey, i.e. total station and GPS, in order to sort of shoot in checkerboards, which is how you sort of tie in your measured building survey to the correct level and orientation, sort of based on Ordnance Survey grid. Cool. So let's have a look into sort of the bits that we've sort of gone into and done. So Monday was a sort of nice easy job within Ipswich, sort of on site. Had to get there a little bit late, partly due to access, as there was sort of an old shop, an active one, and some flats above it, of which you'll need access to the flats. So that would require sort of someone coming back from work. So that's why I had to be a bit later. It's not too much of an issue. So obviously, sort of a busy town centre at the moment, and I was slightly worried going into it because I think I believed I made a note of the fact that there was some traffic issues, or there was a car accident literally on the junction to which I was sort of going to survey and going to work around, thinking I might have half a building here and not a full building to actually survey. Highly dramatised. It was fine, not an issue whatsoever. That's all good. So it was sort of multiple floors, multiple times for sort of access, having to work around sort of other people, other businesses, sort of including a hair salon. So, but normally once you sort of chat and explain, and providing that the main client has explained to sort of the residents and the users of said properties, usually it's fine. Everything work-wise, communication is key. It's always the way, regardless of surveying or other things whatsoever. So that's fine. She's managed to get a cup of coffee out of it, so I'm happy. Usually happy when I can get some a tea or coffee or a biscuit or two, I suppose, on the site. That's usually the sign that sort of the person's quite nice and sort of quite decent. So that's there's sort of no issues there. Having to, I suppose, the only difficulty with that actual site in itself was that the stairs to the loft had broken, so they were missing a few steps, and you sort of very much question your ability to have this very expensive bit of kit and to get yourself up these steps safely and securely. I did. It was fine. Not very comfortable. Don't really want to keep doing that. And then the other one was the actual basement, as there was sort of a hatch sort of on the floor in order to get into the basement for one of the areas required. Thankfully, I had some collapsible ladders or steps even, in order to actually get into the area. Not very nice, a bit dark, a bit dingy. There's just loads of cobwebs. Nothing too fun or exciting, hopefully, in regards to that. And then, yeah, the actual evenings this week have been pretty dull, I suppose. Just gaming primarily. I think it's sort of been focused on Apex Legends at the moment. It's just sort of very easy game, sort of different modes to sort of start. Sort of you can do longer games, shorter games, and so on like that. That's not a problem. That's nice and easy. That's nice and fun. It's my go-to at the moment. Tuesday was MBS as well, still within Ipswich. However, because the moment sort of work-wise, everything is around sort of the centre of Ipswich. I tried to help one colleague. However, that was sort of a group of flats, and access in itself was quite limited. So you couldn't really do too much in that environment. So then I was sort of advised to go elsewhere, and sort of looking at an old abandoned sort of shop within the town centre, where my colleague had already sort of started work. So I managed to get on with that, which was very dark and miserable and required sort of lighting and ideally a better torch for next time, I think. Managed to get around there fine. Just about managed to do one floor, because that should say that the size of the actual project in itself was quite big. But yeah, it was no issue. And then obviously I had the Wednesday to process both jobs. The main shop one where I've helped my other colleague, I processed as best as, because primarily when, like, as I've sort of mentioned, you need to use checkerboards in conjunction with your survey data or your scan data in order to get to the correct orientation and level. So all I could do for that side of things is simply to register it based within itself, make sure it works within itself, all the rooms match up, so it's plane to plane, as it were. So it's matching based on the various surfaces and corners of the rooms in order to do a best fit. So that was not too much of an issue. And then working my way through the stairwells in order for my work to tie in with my other colleagues' work, so essentially needing overlap there, and that their work in itself would have the checkerboards required in order to correctly orientate and level the job. However, obviously my Monday job, I could fully work through, do all of those bits and bobs, get it out, start drawing it up, partly to help the colleague that did the topographical survey, as they will need the main building outline, and then to obviously set up for work for other colleagues that do as well. So I managed to get started on the floor plans as my other colleagues set up to do the building elevations, as they prefer that and I prefer this. Both need to get done one way or the other, so that's not a problem. That was fine. So that was what I went over with on the Thursday, was just continuing drawing that up with my other colleague, ensuring that everything's fine. However, I suppose the slight issue with this job is the fact that it's not a nice new build, nice square simple rooms. All the walls were on the technical term there, so you have to slice, recheck, double check everything in regards to wall position and other featured positions in order to make sure that you are getting the correct information from the data we've collected, which makes things a bit more tricky. It adds more time onto it, which is can be a bit of a pain, but it is what it is, unfortunately. So it takes the time it takes. In that situation, you've got to double check yourself with the older buildings, as there's greater potential for error there. So that's how it goes with that. So then I had a job on my Friday in Sudbury, so one a bit closer to where I used to live. Just building elevations, a wide range of it, two set buildings and the interconnecting areas. This is in regards to what's being kept structurally and what's not, and being able to know what's actually there. That in itself, with my colleague, could get tied into the checkerboard work. Unfortunately, the one advantage with MBS work is your ability to work inside when it's raining, and it was very soggy on the Friday, and building elevations means everything is entirely out front, so it's not great. Not too much more to say on that, really. I suppose then yesterday was a bit of a lazy day. I was almost just completely flopped out on my living room floor across my beanbag chair, which I usually sit in for my gaming. At this point, I'm trying to look for new shows to watch, so I've decided to go back to some of my more favourite TV shows and rewatch those. So at the moment, I have begun to start rewatching Firefly, which is at 20 plus years old now, I reckon. No, blimey, it probably is that, actually. To which got cancelled due to an incident with Fox and Family Guy, which I don't think I've got the best ability to explain, so that might be a case of Googling and double checking on that one. Essentially, the show got prematurely cancelled, so there was only one season of it, and it was considered a very good season, and by many people within the geek culture and sphere like myself, always kept demanding and wanting there to be more, but obviously there wasn't. There was a film that sort of tried to wrap things up called Serenity. I think it was perfectly fine and acceptable. I guess I just wanted more stories out of that because I think it was a well built up universe, sort of very interesting characters, a strong sort of actual crew. Sort of the actors did a really good job. Sort of very strong writing. But yeah, that's sort of what I'm going through at the moment. Obviously, as you can tell, this means I am going to the Ipswich game later. I will be doing a football video later, post game. But managed to thankfully negotiate that with a friend who I have to thank very much for sorting out the tickets for me. So yes, hopefully a very fun end to the week or weekend. So for my happy song, I'm getting quite into, although people were aware that I obviously got into my country, I've started to get more into my folk sort of music, which is sort of a slight tangent off of that. In particular, there is an artist called Nathan Evans, who I think a lot of people might know from the Sea Shanty song, which went viral, which was absolutely huge a couple of years ago. However, I've sort of managed to keep following some of his other music, and the main one that he's pushing at the moment is a song called Flowers in the Water. Really fun, really upbeat. It's just, this sort of music, it's just makes you want to just get up and dance. It's just very fast, upbeat, and you just got to sort of enjoy it for what it is, and it's great fun. So I'm going to leave you with that. I better scoot. I'll see you later. Peace out.